Okay, so we're working on step 7, which is evaluating premises for sufficiency, asking whether the premises, all the premises that are providing evidence for a certain claim are enough to establish that claim. And so we're going to move on to example number 7 here. I'm going to create my text box over here, start at the bottom of the diagram, and I notice that there are 3 premises that all are giving evidence for 8. So I'm going to ask whether 11, 10, and 9 are sufficient to establish 8. So 10, 11, and 9 are claims about bindings, paper, and the fact that hardbacks are disposable. They're giving evidence that books are not made well. I'm going to say these are sufficient. In fact, I'm guessing that 11 and 10 would be sufficient. The quality of the paper and the bindings are central to the overall quality of books. And so, to claim that those 2 elements are poorly done is to provide good evidence that books are generally not made well. The claim that books are disposable only adds additional evidence. Okay, so that's one way to understand sufficiency is, could these things be true and this not be true? Is there something so important missing that these things could be true, 11, 10, and 9 could be acceptable, and 8 could not? And that's not really the case. I mean, there's no way that books are made well if their bindings are poor and if their paper quality is poor. Because, as I say in my justification, those are central to the overall quality. Okay, let's move over here. Is 6 sufficient for 2? A civilization that reads electronically need not be any less literate, therefore, and I'd say this is sufficient. In fact, premise 6 is almost identical to premise 2, which would make it by definition sufficient. But if electronic reading will not result in a less literate civilization, then it would automatically not result in less literacy among that civilization's population. Okay, now let's ask if 8 and 12 are sufficient. Books are not made well. If we do most of our reading on screen, we may start improving the quality of physical books, therefore, and we accept 8 or 12 just at this stage, we accept 8 or 12. I'd say these are sufficient. If the current state of books is poor and a certain action, i.e. moving to electronic reading, would improve the quality of books, then, sorry, that's a poorly stated. Let's go back here. If the current states of books is poor, as 8 states, and a change in behavior may have a certain effect, may have the effect of improving the state of books, as 12 states, then that move, you know what, I'm tangling myself up because I'm noticing that 3 is almost, 3 is almost the same as 12, and that's sort of confusing me a little bit as I'm writing my introduction. But it's a little bit different. If we do this, then we may start improving the quality of books. And 3 depends on the claim that the books are poor quality to start with, which 12 does not necessarily improve, does not necessarily imply. Then that move may improve the quality of books. If the current state of books is poor, the quality may improve the currently low quality of books, which is what 3 states. I probably could work on that and make that a little bit prettier, but I'm going to move on. Okay, now 2 4, 3, and 5 are all pieces of evidence that are all premises that give evidence for 1, so I have to consider them all together. If they're all acceptable, and if they're all relevant, are they enough? And the first thing I notice about the conclusion is, look at it's fairly weakly stated. It could be a positive development for book lovers. It doesn't even say it absolutely will, but it could be a possibility. Well, if it could result in less literacy, something that book lovers care about, and if it could improve the quality of books, then it could be a positive development. It's not saying that there will be no negative developments or to be a positive development overall, or that it even will be, but that it could be. Okay, the conclusion only states that the move toward digital reading could be a positive development. It does not state that it necessarily will be a positive development or that there will be no negative effects of that development. So, in order to establish that conclusion, the author only needs evidence of potential improvements that matter to book lovers. These 4 premises provide exactly that evidence, and so they are sufficient. And I'm noticing that I forgot to put sufficiency in here. Okay, so I say that these are sufficient for that particular conclusion. Now, if the conclusion had been something stronger, say we should move towards digital reading as fast as possible, then these may not be sufficient for that. Or that the move to move toward digital reading will have no negative ramifications. These would not be sufficient for that. But for that particular conclusion, I think those are sufficient. Okay, that's step 7.